going on, everyone? Sid Gordon here with a Core Medical Podcast. Today, we have a pretty cool guest. I met him in Chicago about a year and a half ago, and he's the type of dude you have instant attraction to. Such a cool cat, humble, loving, caring, and also a very dangerous human, which is actually probably why I'm attracted to you. We have Byron Rodgers here with my man Mel Chancey.
And listen, I was very bummed out in my old stomping grounds of Chicago that I couldn't make it to that trip and meet Byron because I had a previous engagement, of course, because you keep me working in many different fields, of course. And I couldn't make it, so I was glad that we finally got to meet last night, man.
Yeah,
and,
man.
That was great, you know. And Sydney was always telling me, he's like, when you meet Byron, man, he's a dude like you, bro. You're going to know it. He's a guy that you want to be around, you're attracted to, and, you know, and I knew that because I knew your love for the Lord, so I knew where your heart was. So it's an honor for us to have you today, bro.
Well, heck
Super
yeah.
excited.
Boom. It's my honor to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
With you
dude.
guys.
Appreciate
Man, it's been awesome just hanging and seeing how you guys treat your people. And a lot of the testimonies that you gave when we were at that event, when you were talking about just the ways that you guys have been able to help everyday people that are struggling with the things that so many struggle with, so many don't realize they struggle with in terms of their biology, you know. And that's just been awesome for me because I've spent a lot of time around billionaires and millionaires and cool people and famous people, and you can see so much about the heart of a person when you see how they treat the people in their organization, and then when you see the attitudes of the people in their organization. And this is like a wolf pack. This is a family, and this is a group of men that I'm just totally excited to be a part of and be running with because I recognize that run teams.
Yeah,
you know?
I
I think we were talking at breakfast this morning when we said there's, you know, if I can use that word alpha, there's a lot of alphas with us. You know, a lot of guys did some cool things from yourself to the military guys to the undercover ATF agents and stuff, the Lou Velozzi's.
even some of our staff.
Our staff.
Our direct staff, you know, not our
Yeah.
strategic partners. You know, it's crazy. I mean,
A lot of cool individuals, a lot of amazing different vibrations coming off of everybody. You know, it's cool to be around that, you know, and it seems me and Sid always talk about it, you know, after we leave a big event and, you know, we're outside and I'm like, it's just cool to do it. It makes us appreciate a lot of things more, you know, with this people we get to be around.
you got Brandon last night.
Yeah.
You know, he's got 69 fights on ice skates and 1 loss.
Heck yeah.
You know, he's fights on ice skates, you know.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and that's the thing, man, with good teams, it's like everyone should be a juggernaut. Everyone should be a general. Like when I'm building my teams, I'm trying to make every single dude a freaking leader, every single dude a general, and then creating an environment of cooperation over competition so that those dudes are like, they love seeing each other win and bring scalps back to the tribe and all that stuff. And that's the vibe I get when I'm hanging with you guys. You know, like there's everybody, no one's light, everybody is competent and has those values. And that says a lot about the leadership, man.
They can all shoot a weapon except for Mel.
Yeah. Except for Mel. Except for Mel. Okay.
Get in the corner over there and stuff.
But that stuff is awesome. And then that also translates into the way you guys do business, the business you guys do, helping people, but then also being like leaders in your industry and being competent when you get on the phone with these guys. They know their stuff. They're going to deliver the best product. That same pride translates into the products that you guys purchase, deliver, and the way you do business. And so that's what I see from being on the inside of a lot of high-end organizations and a lot of
I love how we do it here, you know, because you know Sydney takes care of, like I say, all the real hard work, right? A lot of different people on our team, 30-something employees we have now.
67.
67. Well,
67,
67.
We,
So
we had 30 last year.
okay, so
67 this year. With Core, and then another 500 with my other business.
so it shows you how I'm behind. I'm still in the 30s from last year, right? So he handles that, but he'll call me and say, hey, I want you to talk to this person.
Okay.
He knows who fits in and who does. You know, he's good at doing that. I always give him credit
when
I'm
to
on
take
these.
what tool out of the drawer.
Yes,
You know?
where he's a fit. Well, no, this is a fit for you, Mel. I want you to call this person. I want you to talk to him. He knows all that, and I think that's very important, right?
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
we all have a part to play in it, right? And I love it.
I think I heard you deal with something the other day. We were talking about personalities and different things.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where normally we would, it's just easy to just shrug the guy off as a weirdo or whatever, you know. But his perspective was so gracious, and it was so like well tempered and matured, and to where like normally we'd be like, yeah, okay, that guy's nah. But he would, you put yourself in his position instantly, and you kind of really thought through the equation, and that's something I really respect, because as leaders and as humans, the ability to I'll always go for restoration if I can with a human.
Yeah,
you know, like if I can restore that person to, regardless of their deficiencies, and they can get that value from my leadership and our relationship, they become so much more valuable to the actual mission of the tribe.
Yeah.
And so that was something I recognized as well. That it's just
So we have
where
a
it's at,
saying
dude.
like there's I like to see the good in people, and if you don't, you're not gonna have anyone around you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you
Yeah.
focus on the bad, I mean, there's obviously a few cases where someone makes a
Blacklist.
mistake. And, you're fucking done, dude. Like, see you later.
Yeah.
See you later.
curtain.
You're lucky this wasn't 10 years ago,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
something
This
like
is
that.
this is after Christ, not B. This isn't
Exactly.
BC. Thank God.
I always tell everybody you got the PG version.
Yeah, man. This is
How it could have
AD.
been,
Thank
right?
God.
I've seen him get mad twice.
yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Those are the
Not
scary
funny. It was,
guys.
I mean,
it was like okay.
there's certain
whatever.
people that like if Mel went off the deep end and decided to say, I'm going back to the old ways, I'm leaving the country.
It's like scorched earth.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
That's how the nicest guys are, and I think that's how men should be, man. It's how we should be. It really goes back to being like meek. The actual definition of that, man, is like those who know how to use a sword yet don't have to. You know, and being peaceful but not harmless. You know, and that's one of the major tenets of what I try to represent. It's just like you meet me, and it's like, man, I love you. I'm approachable, and I'm not scared of anything that you might be dealing with or whatever it is, and I'm here to help and empower people. And then all that love, that I have for people and this world and everything is the best fuel if I have to fight actual evil.
Right.
And that's what makes you willing to know greater love than this.
So most people watching this podcast, we've actually, in the last 6 months, the podcast has actually done like really, really well. We've had some amazing guests on here.
Yeah.
Most people probably know who you are. You've had some amazing accomplishments. Can you give us a background on like from childhood to present day? Maybe we'll interact on the way.
Yeah, man. So Byron Rodgers, right? How much time you got, buddy? Dude, I've just been so blessed from a young age. I have experiences. Obviously my faith is really, really a huge part of who I am. And I was raised, Christian and all that, but my relationship with my Creator is really the foundation of my power and what has made me who I am. At age 5, I was born in the Bahamas on Halloween night. There's a legend that when I was born, a scorpion came out from underneath the bed and scared my whole family into the bed. On Halloween, my dear mom was like, "Please, no, not today." And I was like, "Yeah, today." But anyway, so when I was 5, I heard the voice of God. And my dad had started the first SWAT team in the Bahamas, and that's a
What
whole
part of the Bahamas?
in Nassau.
Oh, yeah, I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, man. And so that's a whole story about, just hearing God's voice as a little kid and being like, what? And he said, go sleep in your parents' room. And I was like, no, I'm comfortable. I'm on the couch, man. Like, this is good. They got the AC piping, I was like, I got the TV. I'm finna just sleep here. And he was like, go sleep in your dad's room. And I was like, and I remember just learning the story of Eli and that situation where God was talking, and it wasn't, their voice wasn't being recognized. I just learned that in preschool. Really long story short, my dad had just started one of the first tactical teams in the Bahamas. They were arresting a lot of people.
There's people that aren't aware of this because most people from the States go to like the nice areas.
Oh,
I've been in the
Back in the
backwoods.
shanty
I've been in the
towns and
backwoods
the-
of the Bahamas.
man.
And I'll tell you right now, there's some serious dudes.
Dark jungle.
And they're the only ones with weapons.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
And we were
The
living.
police
see
officers
that.
there are still carrying a .38 revolver
Yeah. So that
in a
tells
leather
you.
pouch
Wow.
on the front, like not tactical at all.
Yeah.
But I've also seen recently some guys pretty decked out.
Yeah. So they're starting to up their game, but yeah, man. So we lived back in the
Wait a minute.
village.
So I want to know what brought you to your dad's room.
Yeah. Well, the Holy Spirit told me, like, go sleep in your dad's room. And I'm like, nah, I'm comfortable. I'm a human. You hear these stories where people are perfect. I'm just Byron, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, and so blow by blow, finally, I'm like, if you're not going to let me go to sleep, I'm going to go sleep in my dad's room. And I'm talking out loud, and this is like a similitude. Like, this is like almost like someone is actually talking to me. And so I go in my dad's room. I'm like 5 years old. I lay down. He's like, go get your big sister. And I sit up, and I'm like, you're supposed to know everything. And if you know everything, you know, I can't get my sister. She just beat me up, you know. And my big sister's like Queen Latifah. Like, she's just like bigger than me, stronger than I'm like, this is impossible. He's like, go in the living room. I'll tell you what to do. I walk in the living room before I even like do anything. He's just like, snatch your blankets and run in the room. So I snatch the blankets off her. The AC's piping. She comes in the room, smacks me around, takes all the blankets, lays down. And then I'm like, is there anything else you want me to do before I go to sleep? And it's just silent. You know, I'm like, okay. I kind of get that peace, like, okay. And right before I went to sleep, he's like, lock the door. So I lock the door. I listen, nothing. I lay down, pass out. Boom, wake up a few hours later. And I'm just kind of like, what's going on, man? Like, and I remember being like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me? Nothing. Don't hear anything. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, I start hearing this like click, like this clickety shuffle, shuffle, clickety click, shuffle, shuffle. And I'm like looking around the room. And I'm thinking like maybe a rat's trying to, because we're still living back in the villagey area. Yeah. Thinking maybe a rat's like eating its way through the wall. Yeah. And I'm like looking at like the air vents, you know, like the air conditioning unit and stuff. And I can't quite figure it out. I turn around and I look right in front of me, and the doorknob is in front of my face, just like this, just moving around like someone's trying to pick the lock and get inside the room.
The bedroom, he's already in the house.
I'm in the bedroom. They're already in the house. I'm in the bedroom. Fortunately, I listened and locked the door, and this boogeyman fear just explodes and seizes my body. And I'm like staring, and I just remember being like, I got to do something. And my dad's snoring like a chainsaw. This is one of those dudes that snores. The whole house vibrates. like the ceiling fan is like, you know, he's snoring. And I just remember being like, I gotta do something. And I go over and I wake my dad up. And I was just like, Dad, someone's trying to get in the room. He stopped snoring. They stopped trying to pick the lock. And he looks at me and he's like, get my shotgun. So I go into the crib, I grab a shotgun, he racks around, and you hear a group of people just flood through the house, flood out the house, trip over the coffee table, and then the sliding glass door just swings shut behind him. They were
trying to kill him?
Yeah, and there's like a group of like 6 dudes. They had on footage come into the house. I would have been sitting there in the living room with my sister. And my dad clears the house butt naked with a shotgun, the way he rolls. And, dude, like, so for me, my life just picked up. And this is the Bahamas. Like, they come in your house, they're going to steal everything. They're in and out in 8 minutes. Your freaking house is on blocks. Like, these cats know what they're doing.
Right.
Not a single thing was stolen.
Oh, they were coming.
Right?
They were coming,
yeah.
So that's, I mean, like, you know, that's kind of my life kicking off in the Bahamas.
Do you remember that like it was yesterday?
Yeah, man, 100%.
From 5 years old.
Yeah, it was just a...
I could tell the way he started the story. That's why I wanted him to finish. I could tell there was something to it, right? Like, you know,
man.
We talk about when God speaks to your heart, you know, it's he'll get you to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
he'll get your attention.
That's 100%, wild, man.
So for me, I've been so blessed that I've been guided, you know, and I've been protected. Mm-hmm. And then I get, you know, I do half my life. I do the summers in the Bahamas, and I do the winters in Washington State, where my mom went to after they got their divorce.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like...
it was your 5 sisters and you and your dad in the Bahamas?
Yeah.
And then you guys would all transition?
No, so I'm black, so it's like all different parents everywhere. That's a joke, right? But yeah, you know, my dad.
I mean, there's truth to it. There's not truth to it. I'm with you, bro.
So you know, God bless Pops, man. You know, he's getting around. So I got like 3 sisters with his next wife that came after mine. I got 1 sister with the wife before my mom. You know what I'm saying? So we're doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
So
everyone gets along.
Yeah, everyone gets
family,
along.
yeah,
Exactly.
Except for all the women on the opposing side.
Yeah, man. My
exes,
dad, you know, he was an actual pimp up in like Buffalo, New York, and all that
Was
stuff.
he really?
Yeah. He got pictures of him in like fur jackets. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, somehow he has a picture with like 5 of his wives. Like he was married 5 different times, and he said I took them all on a vacation, and they're all like in this picture. But anyway, so you know, I kind of grew up as a hybrid, American, Bahamian. I can swim. I didn't know that, like, you know, African Americans didn't swim until I got to the Marine Corps, and they were like, yo, Rodgers, you're going to drown today. We're going to hit the tank. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I can swim. I probably swim better than you. You know, like I grew up swimming. They're like, yeah, right. Like dark green Marines don't swim. And I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? And then I get to the tank and I'm like having a good time. And all the other freaking black guys in my whole platoon are dying, drowning. And I'm like, guys, like all our street credit, like, come on, man, like figure it out, you know, and they're all dying. But yeah, man, so that's kind of how I grew up, you know, and not having a dad, you know, for me, that verse, like the Holy Spirit will be your teacher, has really been what's guided me, and it's translated, you know, into my adult life, you know, in terms of if the things that I've done, I've had help and I've had guidance, and I shouldn't be here in the Marine Corps. So I went to school out in Washington State, played 6A football, joined the Marine Corps during a time of war.
On purpose?
On purpose, yeah, man. I was just kind of like, what am I going to do, you know? And I was like, oh, I can go play football. But I had a buddy whose dad played football professionally, you know, in the NFL, and he had this twitch, and I was just like... I was like, I don't know, I want to be twitchy. You know what I'm saying? So then,
so you decided to go over in a war
enjoy
and get blown up.
Exactly. So I find myself, you know, in a combat zone.
We all have a path.
Yeah, man. And it was amazing, you know, and it deepened my relationship. But I got to go to war. I got hit by 5 IEDs. Eventually, I got rocked by the last one, which 60 some odd pounds of homemade explosives hit me directly, exploded underneath me. I was in a 7-ton. For all the trolls, 3-1 Lima Company Weapons Platoon, 0408. You guys can look me up. I was an anti-tank assaultman in 0351. And I had an out-of-body experience. And in that experience, man, I believe I was reborn, you know.
Why were you not on the right path, or do you feel like you just could have been doing better, or maybe it just gave you guidance?
You know, the whole experience was like, you know, and I'll tell the story, but like the experience really hit the on switch for me with regard. It was like a very high dose of reality. You know, it was like up until that point, it was just like life was pretty good. Like I played some football, you know, like there was just, I wasn't very conscious.
Girls want me, guys want to be me.
I get it. You're like, it's like Tuesday for us, right? Yeah. But like, I wasn't conscious to the sensitivity of life and like the reality of how quick it can be over and how much not a game this is, you know? And so when I was rolling down the street in my 6'4", no, I'm just playing. I was rolling down the street and I was in the back of my 7-ton. I was the troop commander back there. So I had a squad of Marines, and I was in charge of like getting out, doing all the hits on the houses and setting security. Just, we were the element that would get out and attack or do whatever needed to be done. So I'm sitting here, we're rolling down the road, and I have Foster comes over the radio, and Foster had been in like 10 IEDs. So like, you know, for some context, like going to war, doing what we did, me getting hit by 5 IEDs sounds crazy. It is crazy, but in our culture, in our community, as vets know, like, dude, we're all getting rocked. Like, I got dudes in my platoon. Foster been through 10 IEDs, man. I watched Foster get launched so high in the air that from the moment he got blown up, I got down out of my 7-ton, was running towards their vehicle, and then all of a sudden he finally landed, and then the engine block to the freaking vehicle landed. Like, we were just getting that. It was an AO with.
Did he live?
Yeah, he lived. He was messaging me on the way down here, bro. I'm gonna get him linked up with you guys, get him put back together, you know. So
wow.
So, you know, these things happen, man. But for me, you know, I was just sitting there in the back singing a song. Foster comes over the radio. He had like a sixth sense for knowing when we're going to get hit because he'd been hit so many times. And he's like, yo, you know, Silverback, I got a weird feeling. I'm going to take a second. And I'm like, Roger that, man. Like, pause, do whatever you need to do. I got you. And so he was going to stop and look around. And right as he rolls to a stop, I'm all of a sudden in a black room. So
oh, you didn't even realize.
I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any. I was in this black room, and then all of a sudden, it was like everything was okay. Like I was at peace, and I was so chill that's what got my attention. Like you think about like that meme with like John Travolta from Pulp Fiction, where he's just kind of like, you know, like looking around. Like that's kind of how I was.
You
I
love
was
memes.
just chilling.
You love memes.
Yeah, I got my meme game down. A meme is worth 1,000,000 words if a picture paints 1,000 words. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what's going on? And I start being like, where am I? You know, and I was able to recall my thoughts. It was crazy because I could see, like, I was just kind of like, well, what was the last thing I was thinking? And my thought came up on the screen. It was like, why is this water cooler trying to like come up my butt? Like, I was like, why is this water cooler exploding underneath me? Like, it was the last thought I had. And then all of a sudden I started to realize, like, oh, I was sitting on top of a water cooler, like in the back of the 7-ton, because I sat on this Gatorade water cooler because it was the safest place back there. Because if something happened, I'm the brain of that squad, you know? And so, like, I have to be there to tell my guys and to move my guys and to run ops. So I was in the safest spot, and then all of a sudden, I was kind of like, oh, that's weird. Oh, yeah, because I was on patrol. I was on a vehicle patrol. I was in Iraq, and then all of a sudden, like, I just realized what had happened. I was like, oh, my gosh. I died, and the deepest sorrow.
So you're still convinced today that you were done?
I don't know if I died or not, but I had this experience. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And no one was there with like measuring my vitals.
Yeah.
But like I was not in my body. My consciousness was like doing all this stuff, and and all of a sudden the deepest sorrow just exploded from the center of my being, and I was realizing that, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm a pile of guts on the floor in Iraq. I died. And my dad, when I went to join the Marine Corps, he was like, son, I told him I was going to join the Marine Corps. And all of a sudden I was dangling off the balcony in the hotel room that he came to visit me at my high school graduation. Like, it was like that. And I remember him looking at me. He's dangling me off the side of this balcony. And I'm like looking back up at him, and he's just like, why aren't you scared? And I was like, because either you're going to drop me off the balcony or I'm going to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And then he let me back up. And the next morning he called me and he said, I'll support your decision. He's like, but do not die out there. And I said, you know, Dad, I'll do my best. Yeah. And so, you know, as I was realizing that, you know, like I failed, like that's all that was going through my head. It's like, dude, I failed. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. And as I started to think about people that I was like apologizing to for like dying, I started to see them. And so I like went to my mom. Like I was like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm a pile of guts on the floor. I failed. I'm sorry. I died. I went and I saw like my girlfriend at the time and other important people. And I was like traveling around, like apologizing to people, you know? And then I finally got to my grandma, and I remember I was so upset because I realized that like life was so serious. And it's your one freaking chance. And all I did was be like this kind of cool, kind of jacked, like young kid. And I like didn't have a moment of actually being freaking conscious or thankful for the miracle of existing. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, man. And I got, that was what the sorrow was about for me. And that killed me, that was the reality. And I was like, it's over. And then I got to my grandma, and it was literally like, it's like a Touched by an Angel episode. Like, I wish it wasn't this cheesy, but this is exactly what happened, though.
Yeah.
And I sit there, I see my grandma, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Grandma. I failed. And she always told me since I was a little boy, she's like, if anything's ever stronger than you, just say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. By like the third time it'd go away. And I had this experience when I was little where I got stung by over 300 bees on my head because I was being a little kid, and that almost killed me. But they all stung me in my head, so they didn't get to put all the poison in there. And like the doctors were like, yo, you're gonna make it. And I was like in a coma, and this whole thing. But I would wake up in the middle of the night with like night terrors and like all these different things, and I would just be like, Jesus, 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 and it would go away. So I'm sitting here, and the only thing I know to do is to cry out to Jesus. And I'm just crying out to Jesus. And my buddies still make fun of me to this day. They said, we heard you down there in the wreckage of the undercarriage of the 7-ton where I landed. And I was just like, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then I just remember being like, Father, like, if you give me another chance, you know, I was like, if you give me another chance, I'm going to go so hard. I'm going to go so ham. I said, I'm going to go so ham at life. I was like, I may never be everything you've called me to be, but I'm going to do everything I can to be where you've called me to be. I'm going to go so hard at life. And then, you know, I kept praying. And then I remember my dad got shot at point blank range when I was young with a shotgun, and he was declared dead several or 7 times. I don't remember if it was several or 7 times, but, you know, he had to hold his freaking guts together and get drugged back through the jungle to get, driven to the hospital, then medevac to Miami and all this stuff. But I was like, how did you not die? And he was like, son. And my dad's like a mix between Tony Montana and freaking Donald Trump. He's a really successful entrepreneur in the Bahamas, martial artist.
Can I hang out with him?
You guys would, it would be, I don't know. What did he say? So Pops, he was like, son. He's like, he's like, when you give up, you die. He's like, I wasn't gonna give up. I got things I gotta live for. I gotta live for your daughter, but my daughter's my dad. I got you. He was like, I wasn't gonna give up. I fought like hell, and I get chills thinking about it. My hairs are standing up, and I just remember being like, Father, if you give me another chance, I'm gonna go so ham at life. And then all of a sudden, man, I was back in my body, and I remember my eyes opening up, and I couldn't move my body, and then I was like, I can't do this without my body. I was like, I need my body back. And I kept praying, and then it felt like I just powered up like you hear a jet engine just zzz, like it just felt like I powered up, and this righteous anger came over me, and I freaking climbed out of the bottom of that vehicle. I climbed back up on deck, and I remember at some point, seeing my buddies. I remember looking at my buddy from the side, and he was like looking down at my body, and he was just like freaked out, but I couldn't look at my body. I just remember being next to him and being like, I'm not in my body. And then all of a sudden I was in my body, and I got my strength back. And I remember my dad coming back to me and being like, when you give up, you die. And I was like, I'm not going to freaking die here. And I freaking got out of that thing, and the back of the 7-ton was like jarred shut. The ladder was jarred shut from the explosion. And I kicked that thing out, and I ran to the edge. And I weighed 300 pounds with my gear on, because we'd weigh ourselves and stuff like that. I was a small gunner, so I had rockets and C4 and all this. And I looked down, and I remember it's like a 7 foot jump down. And I just remember looking down, and I all of a sudden blacked out again, and then I woke up like 30 yards away in the middle of a field, setting security for my guys, and I was just like, and they were still in the vehicle. And that's when we're yelling, like, get out of the vehicle. I started yelling at him, get out of the vehicle, and we started clearing some surrounding areas. But apparently...
Any casualties?
Apparently, I jumped out of that vehicle like 15 feet and sprinted into the freaking, the reeds. And then once I got safe, I turned around, I kind of woke up and realized what I was doing.
Kind of like being in a fight, when you black out in a fist fight, and it's over.
You're just doing things.
Yeah, you're just doing things, and it's over, and you're like, all right, I'm fine.
And
that guy's like, not doing good.
Yeah. And yeah, man. I mean, we found the guys, and
then deep memories.
Yeah.
That's the deep memory right
So
there.
was everyone okay from that explosion?
My guys were okay.
Oh my gosh.
I took the most damage. I got a pretty bad concussion that I deserve a Purple Heart for, but they haven't been able to figure it. They didn't do the paperwork. Semper Fi, God bless them. And fractured elbow. And then, my dudes were okay. And we found the dudes and made some game time decisions that I think had good implications. We could have took their life, but I chose, just because of the way it all went down, we chose not to take their lives and take them in. And
Good intel. A good intel.
A little bit of this and that.
And the purpose, bro, the purpose.
The purpose. So that was my Phoenix moment. So I came out of that, and, that really catapulted me into being deliberate and seeing the beauty and the miracle, literal miracle this life is.
Do you think the reason why you didn't go in a different direction with those guys, because you might have had gratitude at that point for maybe that life-changing event?
Well, what happened was, like, this whole city is empty, right? We had already dropped leaflets. Everyone knows we're at war. If you're still in the city, you're a combatant. You'll be treated as such. All that stuff's been put out. And, we get blown up. We clear every building nearby, and there's these 6 dudes. And, like, if you've been overseas, that, like, if they're not wearing, like, their for lack of a better word, like their man dresses and their stuff, if they're in track suits and jeans and they got tennis shoes on and not sandals, like, they're the guys, like, they're here to fight, So, we pull them out. They're all lined up. We line them all up, and I'm like, yo, who speaks English? And they're like, this one dude who was their alpha looks at me. He's like, I don't speak English, and he says it like he's from America. You know what I mean? And he kind of grins at me, and I just remember we put them all on their knees, and it's just us and them. And I look at my boys, and they're like, we got AKs in the truck, obviously these guys blew us up, and you know, we got AKs in the back. You know, we can make this look how you want to go to jail, you want to go home. Let me quarterback this thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I just remember looking at these guys.
So they couldn't use their own weapons. They had to use a gun from that country to make it look like it would have been them if you decided to go there.
If you went there,
it's good to just make sure you have some AKs around.
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like, you know, just you don't know what's gonna happen. You might need another weapon. I don't know. You guys can do the math. So like I sit here and
I already did like a minute ago.
That. Yeah,
exactly.
Sydney knew that.
So I sit here and I'm looking at these dudes and I'm looking at my guys who are all banged up. I don't know if I got internal hemorrhaging. I don't know if one of my dudes is just about to fall over. I don't know what's going on. And I'm furious. Yeah, you get really emotional when you get blown up, especially when it's like the third, fourth time. You just like this flood of emotions. And I feel like the Holy Spirit showed me like the future. Like I was looking at my buddies and they're these young dudes. They were not built like how I was. And I just remember seeing them like sitting on a couch 5-6 years later, drowning in alcohol because we just executed these dudes in the middle of the street in Iraq. And like, it was maybe righteous, but it was also a little gray. And I was just like, and I just realized that like, this is probably not going to be something that like I can probably deal with it. I'll go have I'll just go have a pizza after this. But like these cats, like I as a leader, I shouldn't put everyone in this position. And so I was like, okay. And I just,
the trauma, the visual trauma, which we talk a lot about trauma at core a lot, you know, your trauma from the outside looking in, if we had a third party, could be so intense. Yeah. But you might be able to deal with that intense trauma better than I could deal with a minute trauma.
Right.
And, you know, it affects all of us the same. Our body doesn't really know whether or not, like Jason Redmond said, if you get blown up and you get a massive concussion or you get in a car accident that's not as trauma inducing, but you get a concussion, your body still knows it was a fucking concussion.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's wild, man.
It's interesting, and I did some life coaching and stuff like that. I got my master's in psychology and counseling and psychology and forensic psychology. No, I love you.
That's a whole nother segment.
There's a whole bunch in there. No,
that's a whole other segment.
And I like it, man.
Segment, you know?
No, it's good, man. But I remember, you know, I met with a lot of vets and looked at kind of the toolage that guys have to get through the things that we do and endured versus like what we deal with in society and what society's telling us all the time and all these different factors. And that's a whole conversation we can get into too, man.
Yeah. So there's been like a lot of vets that we deal with at core that have been through some major trauma. And, you know, I applaud like, you know, Cody and Rocco and Nick Kay, you know, he's, you know, been in the ruts, I like to call it. And there's also a lot that we have at core that are, you know, really still stuck, you know. Why do you think it is that you're one of the most clear-minded guys I've ever met in my life. You're very calculated.
Thank you.
I can see how you, I don't think you knew I was paying attention, but my wife fell behind us in the parking lot yesterday, and I kept looking back. You fucking straight up turned around, like stuff like that. Like those are things that you know I look at it in another man. Like you know, where's your wife, dude? Like that type of shit is important to me. Yeah. Why do you think it is that you're so fucking dialed in? Like, how much work have you done around that?
Yeah.
Because I know you have like a routine, and we talk a lot about routine. You know, Mel gets up every morning, does his cardio, and it does his devotional.
Awesome.
And it's like clockwork. And then he starts with his patients. We speak on the phone. He does his NPC stuff. Like, I know where Mel is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I just know his routine. True. I'm very similar because other than when I'm in the woods, because you ain't finding me there. Yeah. You know where I'm at, and it's. What do you think? Is a part of routine? Is it part of a backlog work that you've put in? Is it? Yeah. Is there techniques? Is like because there's some. I mean, you told me some stuff that was pretty interesting yesterday.
Yeah, I think, realistically, I got out of the Marine Corps, so there's a gift. Obviously, like we all have different gifts. I think that a lot of that comes from the way I was raised and the environment I was raised in, going from third world country and, the way my family is, we're warriors, but then also when I got out of the Marine Corps, I had this moment where I was just like, hey, bro, what are you going to do? Which leads into the second time, like God talked to me and changed my entire life and put me at the top of the executive protection game in like a day. But to answer your question, I had to solve an equation, and that equation was, how are you going to be successful enough to provide for your family and like create a life? Like in the Marine Corps, in my platoon, like I was high up, you know, like you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's really interesting in the military. You get all that. You have food, water, shelter. You have social belonging. You have all these things, and you're kind of self-actualized actually if you spend a good 4 or 5 years in there. You got brotherhood. You got all these things, and then when you get out, it all gets taken away from you. You have to rebuild it. And so I was kind of looking at how am I going to solve that equation. I'm a trigger puller. The only thing I can really do is hold a gun for somebody. So hopefully the cops will take me, or I'll go overseas and do some PMC stuff or mercenary stuff or whatever it is. So then, you know, for me, that realization was, you know, you need to make, I don't have anything. I have God and Byron, and that's it. And so for me, the game was like, how can I make myself so valuable, or at least valuable enough to where I can generate value in this world that'll be reciprocated back to me, and I can create a decent living. And that's kind of when I shut off all the music, shut off all the pop culture, stopped watching TV, and I just started freaking diving into audiobooks, self-help books. Like, what do people who have solved higher quality problems than me have to say? And like, friends are cool, and like, I love you guys, but like, you know, like, how am I going to elevate if like I'm just kicking it with people who are on my level? So I made audiobooks my best friend, and I went through like about 300 audiobooks in a few years. And it just, you want a higher quality life, you need a higher quality, you need to make higher quality decisions. You want to make higher quality decisions, you need to get higher quality information. And I don't think people understand that it's literally that simple to change your life. Like, if I looked at you, everyone has what they deserve. Everyone is self-made, but only successful people are willing to admit that. And so I took that on at a relatively young age, right as I was getting out of the Marine Corps. And then I started investing in myself mentally, emotionally, continuing to build my physical assets. And then I have that high drive. And then spiritually, the spiritual development has also been a huge weapon, because that gives you the ability to perform above your mental, emotional, and physical capabilities. And that's where like the grand slams come from.
So, you know, you're saying that, it's really interesting. I went through a 10-year hibernation period to where like I legitimately was like, I grew up in a household where my father did pretty bad shit to make money. Then he ends up committing suicide and divorce, and I was a scumbag selling drugs, like just an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Then moved to Florida, and then realized, dude, I'm down here, have a fresh start. Like, these people are at the beach on a Tuesday at 3. I can outwork all these motherfuckers. Like,
Get 'em.
and then I go into this hibernation period of where it's just like all about work and learning how to say something and actually follow through and complete it to its task, because I didn't have that ability.
Yeah.
And
That's a superpower these days.
it's really difficult to find.
Yeah.
And then I look at Mel, and Mel made the absolute best out of being incarcerated.
Right.
He could have gone in there and done really bad shit, but you went in there and you really developed your time with God.
Yeah.
And then it's so crazy. He's like, oh, you know, one of the reasons why I was put in prison is to continue on faith with other people that are in prison. And if I ever went back there, it's because God wanted me to go there to carry the word. Yeah. And he says that all the time. But I'm like, dude, how the fuck are you thinking? Like, that's fucking nuts.
This is mental alchemy. This is one of my favorite things to talk about.
So like, and then you're kind of saying like you went into that hibernation mode. I cut off everyone I knew. Yeah. Like I watched I didn't read audiobooks. I wish I was smarter than I am. But I watched instead of going out at night, I legitimately, it was a Blockbuster across the street from my house. I watched a movie. That's all I did. I watched movies, I ran, I worked out, and I worked. And that was it. And now I get to really enjoy the fruits of that sacrifice and that amount of time. It was a long time. Yeah. But, you know, all the businesses I've done are startups. Yeah. Okay? And from the ground up, we never bought a business. And we took Core from me wheeling around. He's heard stories about a medical box on a little stroller thing, thinking I'm a badass with like 10 patients, to like fucking 18,000 patients in 43 states. Yeah. A guy that ain't living right can't pull that shit off.
Nope. Your character will wreck you at some point.
Yep. Yeah. So, and I mean, look, over the last 6 years, he's been in my life. He's been amazing. You know, Jax has been awesome. But the reality of it is that it starts with you, you know, and it kind of ends with you too. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So
Because there's a lot of, even with that growth, there's so much, like the fight's never over. Like the war is never over.
You know-
like I could be here right now on this podcast. I ruined my life by the night you let me loose. If I let myself loose.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
done.
Like, and
especially with the money in the bank, really,
Yeah, man,
that shit can't control you. You got to control that shit.
amplifier, yeah,
exactly.
man.
You know, the cool part for me and being by Sid 6 years ago, Sid, you know, we all, you know, God takes us through the journeys and he takes out what's not supposed to be there and puts in what's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
Whether you're in deep fellowship or not. You know,
Right.
when I first got to them joints, I still had to be Road, you know. My old nickname, you know, and stuff. And then I got to see what he was doing in there. And seeing it in Sid in the 6 years and watching the changes that I've seen him do organically, you know, and the growth that I've seen him do, you know, has just been amazing for me to watch that and watch him grow in all different aspects, not in just core medical aspects, in life.
And that's the foundation that makes all this other stuff really work.
I watched guys leave his life.
Yeah.
Got taken out. I always tell him, I said, when you're whether you're paying attention or not, God knows what you need, and he takes things out and puts them in at them specific timing, right? And I watched that with him in 6 years. So
No, it's amazing, man. And it's
cool.
it's funny
I think
when
limited personalities are important too. I think, you know, I was on this huge mission to find someone that was like in need of help and like giving them everything I had to help them, right? And that's an enabler, number one. Number two, I get fucked every time. Like not even fucked
100%.
nicely. Like fucking hate sex.
Well, it's interesting because, like, and this goes into the point that I think comes from looking at your journey and the trauma and the childhood and all this stuff and what you went through, getting incarcerated in the hell that you had to exist in that turns out to be like your desert experience where God gives you your power, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And it's really interesting because people look at life and they are like, oh, I can't believe this has happened to me and this is so terrible and and then you're talking about like, yo, every time I try to help somebody and give them the world, like it doesn't work and I get wrecked and it doesn't empower them and it doesn't help them. And it all culminates for me into that whole mental alchemy and through the understanding that like, it's all love, right? And that's what I think people don't realize when it comes to life is like, if you hadn't gone through those childhood traumas and the different things that you went through that were hell, that were dark, like when I look into your eyes, there's no way you would have the ability, the tenacity, the endurance, the strength. Like I know what this business is war. Every single day you wake up to problems and different things. And you have to have like this resilience, this rock solid resilience.
Everything's always going to be okay is what I tell myself, dude. It's always going to be okay, dude.
You get inoculated
It's been
to it.
bad. This year's been the
We've
hardest
had a
year in
rough,
business I've ever had in my
business.
life. I mean, it's been brutal, man, looking back at it. And the bottom line is like, you know what, today, there really aren't any big problems,
right?
And there's some, and I like to call them high class problems that I can overcome. And it's you know,
one thing that an old school friend of mine told me back in the day, when I just 24 years old and I just was elected president of the Hells Angels, the youngest one, and everything like that. And he told me, he said, "Man, Mel, it's like moss to the flame. Everybody's around you right now." He goes, "But I'm going to tell you something. Not everybody is supposed to finish the journey with you." And through the years, I have said that to Sydney. Like, okay, watch this guy open up his heart, bring a guy in, have a guy here for many years, whatever the deal is, and then something happens. And maybe that guy didn't do the right thing by Sid or whatever, and he'd get mangled about it. And I said, listen, bro, not everybody's supposed to finish the journey with us. It's not supposed to be, you know, everybody's not going to make it. They just weren't ready for them blessings, is what I say.
Or they weren't designed, or they were going to hinder your destiny.
And
the thing
most
is,
of the time,
like,
every time they leave, we just make more money.
Something
you lose dead
good
weight.
happens. I said, you know, we have to, you know, you can't let it scorn us, because he still needs to be Sydney here with us all, and he can't like let one or two dudes screw up what everybody else got. That's a blessing, and we just said this, and you know, and he said, I don't think that person was ready for the blessings that we're receiving, and I said, good. I'm glad you look at it that way, because you know. it could scorn you if you looked at it another way. You know,
if you let it get in your heart.
Yeah, because we give everything, right? We give everything to everybody around us.
Right.
And that's draining in itself.
Oh, yeah.
And when I'm done traveling and running the IFBB, you know, and the NPC, and coming here and with Core and his partner in the project I'm doing and stuff, I got to regroup sometimes. I got to be like, whoo.
Let the battery charge.
And I say there's a fine line between guys like us getting down on our knees, leaning over that ditch and saying, come on, brother, grab my arm.
Right.
But there's a fine line for them
He's
pulling you
reach
in.
Up. Yeah. He's got to climb out. Yeah.
As he's holding, you know, he's pulling you in, and he doesn't want to come out of that ditch. There's a fine line to where you got to say,
let go.
I got to cut and run.
Yep. You still need to learn what you need to learn, and you need to take another lap.
Yes.
Before you're really actually able to step into what's.
Yeah.
But the other point I was getting ready to make is, it's all love, because what if our Father did that to us? What if he gave us everything from the time we were born? One of the biggest struggles that I see with the billionaires and millionaires I protect is they have the hardest time raising high quality children. Show me the son of a great man who's also a great man. It's a really tough thing to find. And so when I say it's all love, I mean that these horrible things we go through, they give us the strength and the wherewithal and the armor and the resilience and the resourcefulness. So like now you're looking at these first world problems, and you're like, yo, like, you know, like I've been through way worse, and now I'm the type of human who can lead a tribe, who can really look at somebody and give them what they need, because I've been through a type of hell. And so for the things that you guys might be going through, I'm telling you, those struggles and those traumas are gifts that make you a well-rounded, actual, strong person, if you choose to see it that way, and if you choose to step into it that way.
Yeah.
Then that's the difference in people, man, what they choose to do with their experiences and the beliefs that result.
Yeah, you know, going back to that farther thing that you just touched on. My biggest thing that I see is that in my community in South Florida, where I'm at, Mel's definitely has probably noticed a change in since he was a kid. My thing is that, number one, you pull into my kid's parking lot at a public school in Boca, and there's freaking Lamborghinis in it that the kids are driving. And the kids they got boats, they got Rolexes. But you know what the reason is that I think a lot of times, don't get me wrong, I'm selfish. I'm a selfish guy. I work on it daily. The one big thing is that they don't understand the quality of time spent with a child is all they want. That's it.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
And then and they'll buy shit to fill the void of their time.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And I think starting with just giving them time, and consistent time is important. Scheduled time is important. Even though our schedules are crazy, you know, the ability, like, stop and tell your kid that you love them. You know, FaceTime them randomly, like, if you're not available. I mean, you travel, I travel, Mel travels. His grandkids, you know, they're his world, and you know, vice versa. And you know, he's made up for a lot of lost fucking time I've seen, and it's been crazy. And you know, he didn't have the option then, right? But we have the fucking option,
right?
And it's crazy. So, you know, one thing I really like to push is, Core's great, because so many dads have called me like their testosterone was shot, blown up, whatever, high strain jobs. They come home and they sleep when they get home. They don't spend time with their kids, and then they get on testosterone. Chuck's talked about before. And basically, they have their dad back. They're active. They're throwing a ball with them. They're like clear thinkers. They're growing in business. They can provide better for their family. And it's a direct reaction. I have hundreds of people that have texted me and DM me and like, dude, what the fuck? This one little shot a week has changed my life. And the beauty of it is that once they get feeling better, now they're going off in other directions. Like you said, now I don't listen to music. I go on my bike. I'm listening to audio tapes. I'm listening to a Bible app. Like, there's a lot of really exciting things that happen from that motivation, you know? And,
how many hardcore veterans have we seen in all our years? And I like to say this: we don't talk bad about the VA because we didn't serve.
God bless the VA.
We let if somebody's got a bad thing, we let them say it, right? We didn't say we didn't serve, but we seen so many guys that, you know, were at the VA and they wouldn't help them out with the hormones, and guys would tell us, I had no lust for anything. I would come home from work and I would look at my kids there, and I was like a zombie, right? And then they got over to meeting us and stuff. And then we got their hormones all straightened out, their testosterone levels, estrogen put in place, right? and got them off half the stuff that they might have been taken from the VA.
Right.
And to watch them become amazing fathers,
Right.
amazing husbands,
Right.
you know, it's like the light went on in their eyes again, you know.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding on our end to
Not
see
even
all
with the
that,
military,
you know?
even like a walk of life. Like, man, honestly, I tell you right now, for me, I don't think I could do what I do with the energy that I do it.
Yeah.
I sleep six hours a day, 7
Yeah.
hours a day.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning, and as soon as that alarm goes off, I don't hit the fucking snooze button, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing. I mean, there are. So, like, I think the physical level of existence is the foundation for all of it. If you're not physically optimized, emotionally, you're not going to have it. Spiritually, you're not going to have it. Everything comes out of your physical optimization. And so, like, there's been literally an attack on people, like freaking, you know, forever chemicals, BPCs, stuff in everything. People are growing. Dude, one of my best friends' sons is got a, what is it, when you're secreting from your nipples. Like, he's got, he's like, you know, his estrogen levels are all, you know, he's having surgery. Like, people don't realize that this stuff's been acting on them. They've been in like a 5th gen type war going on since the time they were born.
It's an indirect attack.
100%. And everything they've been eating, breathing, sleeping in, wearing. And so it's like, if you don't have the foundational, your body is not optimized, you just won't be able to attain the levels of performance and existence that you should in order to even get to the emotional intelligence and the spiritual intelligence you need to be everything that you're created to be. The mental clarity, like you'll listen to guys like me, like us, and you'll be like, oh, those guys are just different, and I can't be like that.
Right.
Because really, you just don't have the freaking capability at that moment until you get these basic things settled. And that's why I joined forces with you guys, because I get guys come through my training. They have the right heart. They're awesome human beings. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I want to get this guy to 6 figures in the protection industry. He's got the heart for it. But the fact of the matter is, he's just not physically potent enough. When you look at him, it doesn't say, hey, I would leave my family with you to protect my family. Or, you know, when you look at him, it's just like, you know, like he's overweight, or he's, you know what I mean? It's like, he's got to optimize himself. He's got to have that physical potency, because that's going to be your number one calling card.
For sure.
There's been such a lack in America making men. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
it's the real epidemic.
it really is. And it's, you know, it doesn't exist in my circle because I won't allow it.
Yeah. 100%.
I want to know if I'm in a different state and something bad happens, like my fucking boys are going to be there to support my family, however that they need to. I do the same for them in a second, you know, the best of my ability. And I think that, you know, it really does start in these underlying issues of, you know, families unfortunately feeding their kids shit out of a box constantly, dude. It's like, so when you, and people complain about the cost involved in it. I'm telling you right now, you can't put a price on health. It doesn't exist. Figure out a fucking way. Like the meal we ate last night, great example. When you bit into that piece of meat, you know they didn't get it from a freaking grocery store.
Bro.
You can tell.
It was different, man.
And I mean, he eats clean. I mean, he
so do
comes
I,
over
man.
here, cost me 20 grand in sushi.
That's what's up. Yeah, Mel's coming to town.
So talk to us about kind of what you do now, like all your avenues. My oldest was excited about you because of the video game thing. You know? That's like, oh my God, it's Byron Rodgers. He's that character. That guy, like, I'm like, Jordan, chill out. You're 23, bro. All right? Stop man crushing.
No, that's awesome, man. It's such an honor, man. So yeah, bro. I Marine Corps background, infantry, all that stuff. Got into executive protection at age 21. That was 2008, and that's the only thing I've done with my adult life is protect people, families, VIPs, A-list celebrities, corporations, C-suite execs, corporate structures. Doing a lot of stuff when it comes to churches and schools now. I believe those places are sacred. People want to worship. Kids want to go to school. Like, I shouldn't have to convince you to have a security plan where kids are, okay?
For real.
But, you know, these are the things.
A fire alarm now is because there's a shooter in your school, not because there's a fucking fire, dude.
Right. And so
sad.
now, you know, so that's really one of the things, one of the areas I'm passionate about, but all I've done is eat, sleep, breathe, private security. I've operated in over 80 different countries, more than that, but that's what I remember. And it's just who I am. You know, I'm a protector that believes that protectors are the white blood cells in the body of humanity. We just had an active shooter. Last night, we got bodies in the double digits digits. I want to multiply protectors. So the next time that happens, it's not bodies in the double digits. It's this dude pulled out a gun, shot one person, and 8 people just extinguished the threat. Doesn't even make the news. So that's my mission, and I have spent my entire life being a professional protector, and now I'm bringing those tools to the greater public through my company, Bravo Research Group. That's our boutique private security company. We operate all over the world, primarily out of California. The Protector Nation, that's my training company for everybody. We have online learning resources, modules. We do live Zoom meetings with different SMEs, different elite protectors. Like this month, we have Yusuf Badu, who teaches all the agencies different things like behavioral profiling and, you know, how to recognize if someone actually is a threat based on what their limbic system and their subconscious mind is telling you and their behavior, right? So he's coming on this month. Like, and we have then we have Protector Symposiums annually under the Protector Nation, which is like, you know, a few hundred people get together. We have an interdisciplinary training weekend together. This time we covered protective driving, contact driving, one-man CQB, so armed structure movement, i.e. if someone goes active in this building, like what do you do? We covered urban...
I get behind you.
Hey, I'm ready. Hey, I'm all about it, dude. You're too important anyway, man.
No way, dude.
We covered urban disruption. We covered survival tactics. So in one weekend, you can learn from a handful of the
That's the one
best.
you just had, correct?
Yeah, the Protector Symposium.
Yeah, so there's someone in the studio that we just did a podcast with, Chuck. We co-sponsored two people to go to that event.
Yeah,
two of our guys went. Feedback was like unbelievable. You know, Chuck has a lot of training, and he's been all over the place and been through it. And you know, he was like, dude, that was unbelievable. Like, it was really, really good. So it doesn't matter what level you are.
Right.
I mean, you can always learn from it.
And we want civilian. I want basic, plain. I've got no idea about tactic, anything. The biggest compliment I get is when I get a single mom who's 110 pounds come up to me and be like, this absolutely changed my life. And then I get like a dude with a background who he can't tell me what it is. And he's like, hey, man, this was solid, man. I learned a lot. Like, when I'm able to impact every side of the spectrum with skills that are life skills that will help you live a safer pattern of life, that's the game. And then I have one of the premier executive protection training organizations in the industry called the League of Executive Protection Specialists, and we get people from their civilian lives, military, law enforcement, into the executive protection, the high end of the private security industry, which is such an honor because you get dudes making money doing something they're passionate about. Absolute grand slam to me.
Protecting people,
protecting people, places, and things, man.
Sydney, we got to go to one of those events coming up.
We should do. We're gonna do his driving event together.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we just crash cars and.
There's nothing like
so
it,
can
man. There's nothing like it.
I do it in my daily life all the time.
Yeah.
So your mentality that you have, I listened to you in Chicago speak, and you know, it's right now is a real hard time to carry on that message you're carrying on because there's so many people that are in that woke mentality, I guess you'd call it, the transgender lifestyle, like all this stuff, and you deliver a message super direct, and you can't really not understand it.
Right.
It's actually what you said at that event is what I think in my head, but have never verbalized it. Yeah. And I don't know if you'd mind kind of just going through kind of what you said at that event.
Yeah,
you know, just talking about how a man is built for certain things, and if you're not like,
I'll dig into it. You know, I think a good place to start that conversation is the reality that the quality of your society is dictated by the quality of its men. That's it. That's the quality of your society is dictated by the quality of its men. You know, we've all heard the, easy times make easy men, that whole continuum. But the reality is, what makes it so your women and children right now can walk the streets without getting raped and getting their heads cut off is the fact that other men are willing to do violence on their behalf, and they're just a phone call away. That is literally the only thing that holds this thing in balance. And without that, everything goes to chaos. Strong men make it so there's not utter chaos, right? And we're not killing each other every 5 minutes. So what we see when we look in the decline of society, like there's an epidemic. Like, who's committing all the crimes? Who are all the gangsters made up of? Who are all the active shooters? They're all dudes, man. So like there's this whole problem going on where dudes don't understand like what it is to be an honorable, strong man. And there's so much market messaging that's going into feminizing us. And then there's like, where's the place for an honorable, legit man, and what's the path to that? And it's not very easily recognizable because there's such a psyop going on that young dudes are getting disenchanted, and they're looking for a way and a place. And the reality is, it exists, but you might have to endure being demonized to get there in so many ways. Yeah. A man should be respectable. Like, you should look at me, my wife should look at me, my colleagues, and even the people that work under me should look at me and be like, dude, that dude is a monster. I couldn't be Byron. Like, I couldn't do that. I'm going to follow this guy. I'm going to learn from him. I'm going to try to become him, right? You should be respectable. Your wife should be like, I cannot do what my, like, this whole, like, I can do whatever you can do. Like, like, it should be an absolute delusion. Like sometimes I used to, when I was young, like, sometimes I'd like to, like, hit on bull dykes, you know what I mean? Because, like, I know how I make a normal dude feel, you know what I'm saying? Like a normal guy, you know what I mean? So, like, you get a chick
so you're a real fucking sick one.
Yeah. Well, you know, like, you get
dude.
you get like a chick, you know, trying to act like a dude, you know? Like, sometimes I just, you know, just kind of sit next to her and just let her feel my presence, you know what I mean? Because that's masculine, and she turned into a girl in 2 seconds, you know what I mean?
Of course,
and you know, give her a compliment and just like look at her, you know what I'm saying? And because there's an energy that men...
I have so many questions right now. Like, have you ever closed one before?
Things happen, you know, things happen.
Yes, he's interested in that.
Right. But I say all that to say, like, as a man, you should be respectable, and it should be just part of the consequence of who you are. You know, you should be dangerous, you know, and you should be able to wield power respectably. That's the other thing. Like, I walk onto a plane, you know, people, you know, I see old ladies clutching their purses. I see everyone get a little bit more uncomfortable, you know, and then I help an old lady put her bag in the overhead compartment, and I say good morning, you know, and I'm really approachable, and I'm really friendly, you know, and people are just kind of like, thank God he's on our side, you know, and it puts everyone at ease, you know, because anything happening in that environment, because I've worked on cultivating being strong and powerful, and it's not just about being jacked. It's a whole different kind of conversation. I get to say what goes on in that environment.
Oh, you're jacked, right?
You know what I mean? But like, a man should get to say what happens. Will get to say what happens in that environment, whether he hides or gets on his phone or whatever the heck it is. Yeah, I mean, like, that's going to be between him and his honor and God. But you have to, I think that we need to we need to get back into contributing to the reality that I think what's wrong with men, and the reason America is getting ran over and the world is literally just getting ransacked right now by weak men that can push buttons, is because there are no strong men. They're not we're still here, but strong men aren't doing everything they can to defend this world against the light. And the cultural hypnosis is so powerful. They killed freaking Wolverine. They turned him into a little girl. They killed. They turned Neo into a simp. Like, you start watching all the messaging. Like, all of our superheroes. I was watching the last Terminator, and there's a chick. Come with me if you want to live. Like, no, like, absolutely not. This is what we're here to do. And so, understanding, you know, the reality that a lot of our young men are dealing with, this equation, which is what to do with the power that you organically get given as a young man. Power without purpose is a problem. And that's why, you know, like, I was either going to be a gangster or I was going to be a Marine, which is kind of the same thing, just different cartels, right? But like, this is what we're designed to do. And if you can find a way to have a young man choose an honorable way, and that's what I did. I chose the most honorable way to cultivate and serve with my strength, and help him understand that strength being acquired is in order to render a higher level of service. I can serve clients. I can make, you know, 7 figures protecting people because I can render a high level of service because I've created a situation where I'm dangerous enough to be able to render that. Being a protector isn't something you just identify as. Being a protector is something that you train to, you develop that skill, otherwise you're gonna get outperformed by the other guy, right? And so for men, I think what really needs to be looked at is we need to become powerful, and we need to become powerful to serve our society in a way that other people and other humans, and especially women, just simply can't. And that is what the world needs. It needs active men who are willing to go fight, to protect the innocent, physically, mentally, emotionally.
No matter where they're at.
Yep, legislatively.
Yes.
So
every way we can.
I have a saying, and women would really fight that. A lot of people would fight that comment. But I've never met a woman that after I made them feel safe and laugh every once in a while, didn't love me to death.
Yep, 100%.
So like it's very important. Like,
and
my wife knows now where it took a while. It took actually a traumatizing situation to happen.
Yeah.
If I'm with you and we go into a restaurant, I know my place there. I'll give you the door.
Right.
Right. I walk in the restaurant with my wife and kids. They're not facing the fucking door.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
that's just not
this
happening.
is a settled thing.
They already
100%.
know what's going on. She thought it was crazy, you know, and I'm like, and then this happens, and they just take their seats now. My 16-year-old gets up to go to the bathroom. I go with her if there's an exit door at the back fucking door.
Yep.
Like, that's the shit that people don't think about.
Yeah, and that's why I started that whole line of content, the Tactical Protector, the Tactical Protection Reviews, so I can micro trauma dose the public to realize that guys like us are not crazy. We're just from places you ain't never been.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see the world in a way you never have to see the world because we do such a good job at protecting you.
Yeah.
So it's real world, actual action things happening that I talk about afterwards because I have 5 sisters and they're all doing the same. They all used to do the same. Oh, you're just this. I'm like, don't sit in your car and send a text message. Get the car rolling.
Yeah.
Make sure you can see the door. Well, you're just the security guy.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is people, you know, they live in Boca, Orange County, and they have zero realistic life experiences to validate anything that guys like us who've been around the block will tell them. So they're just like, yeah, you're just crazy. And it's like, I know how quickly something can go wrong. Someone can come in that door and I might have to be willing to give my life. And I have to be ready to get over this table and handle trash, right? But for them, it's been Barbies and nice cars and all the things that we've provided. So now that little trauma's in there, now people are going to be much more ready to get on the level when it comes to the crazy things we've been talking about.
Just like
that's why I try to trauma dose people a little bit.
We were saying about Jax, you know, Sid's wife, and with the trauma that they went through, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and since then, 4 children have been taken out of Boca Raton and 3 out of Delray.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Everyone's fucking guards down. Where do you think the kidnappers are going, or the sex, these fucking night
the places
the
where-
bullies always prey on the weak.
On the weak,
and
100%.
that's where they know what to go to. It's like me, you know, we always joke that I can't, ex-felon can't have the guns and everything. We say that a million times, but when we're in a room, you know, and you can ask, I know the room.
Oh, yeah,
I'm looking and
100%.
seeing what's in that room because of the lifestyle I came from.
It's
My
built
back's to the thing. No one's coming in the door. If somebody comes in the door, I'm going to say, Sid, I know you got a few weapons. Throw me one. Because at that time, I'm not going to worry about being a convicted felon. I'm going to save the room. And if they want to charge me later, then so be it. It means I have to go back to the joint to reach somebody through the Lord again. I'm good
He's
with
already got it all worked out.
I always tell them, try not to keep me here forever, but if that's the case. But, you know, the society is trying to breed weak individuals right now so they can take over the power as we're watching what's happened at the shooting we seen yesterday up in Maine and everything like that. A lot of people that he targeted. Out of all them people, is Maine a non-carry? I don't know that part.
How did he get to run through?
That's the first thing that went through my mind. I was watching the video, and I said to myself, man, dude, I mean, listen, I don't leave my house ever without a handgun. I'll go anywhere.
You sneak up on me while I'm in the shower. I got something in arm's reach, bro.
Yeah, it's the reality, and it's not because like I love living that way.
Right.
It's because it's my duty to live that way.
Yeah.
Duty, 100%, man.
And the thing is that, you know what, I'm not the best tactical combative person with a firearm, but I can tell you right now, if I was inside that bowling alley, either I wouldn't be here or he wouldn't.
Yeah, sure. And I'd have gave him a hard time.
For sure.
He would have known I was there.
Yeah, I'd have gave him a damn hard time, man.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, just to think about having, 80 people in a bowling alley and not one person has the ability of 2 people that fly a plane in a bunch of building with 175 people on it, not one person.
And that's what I'm trying to combat in the world, man. Like, I feel like that the first couple shots should ring out, and then white blood cells should rush to dealing with that problem in a society. To get a body count in the double digits, visiting multiple venues, the whole mentality
change.
the whole mentality and posture.
He had to reload his gun.
Yeah. And I personally
Right.
think it's been deliberate. I think that we've been deliberately just being watered down, and now it's coming to a head. You know, we're facing World War III possibly. Who knows what's going to happen? Some would say
Right.
we're already in World War III.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, when I look at our marketing campaign for the military and I look at the other guys' marketing campaign for the military, like, I'm just like,
It's
I
all
got
about
out of the
here.
military
Join
because
us.
it was getting, it was
Free
just getting,
college.
yeah, so weird and soft that I was like, I know war. I can't go to war with these guys. Like, and that was kind of what clipped it for me. You know, when they're like, you can't do this around the new Marines, you can't do that around the new Marines, you can't do that. And I was just like, okay, dude, I can't go to war with these guys. Like, I can't train them. I can't even train them as good as I would train my little brother.
Which
And I
is
was
actually
like,
scary because they're going to have to go to war with no mentor like you.
that is the reality,
You know,
man.
that's just, it's really, really scary to think about. Like, you have this kid who has no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just to go to get a college degree,
Yeah.
right? I saw this thing on Instagram of a guy in the army that was like, he was dancing and then the page
Turned into a
changed.
chick?
Turned into a chick.
Yeah,
Did
he
you
was
see
a
that?
Decepticon. I seen that too, bro. Like, I'm just playing, just joking. But I seen it too. Like, he
Looks like a
straight
fucking
up.
avatar.
No, it did. There's two of them, and they're both in the army. But I seen that too, man. And I'm just sitting here, and I remember when I got to my unit, they just got back from the Battle of Fallujah, the biggest urban engagement since Way City in Vietnam. This trash was like, it was like a scene from, like, I don't know, man. It was like going to juvie, bro. Like, I went up in the elevator, you know, and they set me up, of course. You know, I walk up with my other little boot, and I see a guy at the bottom of the elevator, and he's like, and I'm like, hey, excuse me, Lance Corporal, do you know where 3-1 Lima Company Weapons Platoon is? And they're like, he's like, yeah, bro. And he's like, get in the elevator, go up to the third floor. I'm like, roger that. So me and my little other buddy boot are sitting there, and as we're going up, you know, ding, ding, and all you can hear is like rock music, like death metal, rap music, country music, some porn, video games. You smell the beer, and it's just like, and then like, ding, and the elevator, and now only made men could get on the elevator, right? So like, if you weren't a staff NCO or higher, you ain't supposed to be on the elevator. So the door opens, and these dudes just look out, like everything shuts off. And these dudes lean out, and we walk out with our little sea bags, and it's just like, fresh meat! And these dudes just attack us. And I didn't see the other boot for like 48 hours. I saw him like 1 a.m. I was like doing push-ups, and he like came in, and he was, and then one of the Lance Corporals was like, you better catch me. Anyways, and he ended up getting injured and getting processed out, right? But I say all this to say, I joined a combat unit, going to war, and it was like one of the most like they trained you, they beat the crap out of you. And it was because they love you, and it's because they know what you're about to go up against. You know, it was literally that, like, remember all that stuff you learned in boot camp? Forget that trash. This is how you don't die in a combat zone. You know, like, and I learned from these dudes who had just done it, and it was hard, and we got wrecked, man. We got physically beaten. We got ran. Dudes got injured, got sent home, and they were like, get the heck out of here. You shouldn't have been here in the first place. It was so masculine, which is what I wanted anyways, why I went in there. And then when you get to war, you see that it was all just love. And you got to cut your teeth so these guys respect you and know they can, Rodgers is on post, Rodgers is going to hold us down. He's not going to freaking blink, right? Because we trained that fool. We seen his heart already. We ripped him open in training. We already know what's inside that dude. Every single one of us took a shot at him. So I say all that to say, man, like, this whole like PC stuff, and that's why I got out. I was like, I can't open these dudes up and look inside with all these guardrails on, and that's who's going to be defending our country. And even when they come to our training, we kick them around, and we're like, hey, if you don't like it, bro, go on ahead and pop smoke, my man. It's all love. Yeah. But here, I need to know you're a man before I sign off on you.
Yeah.
So, talking to the general public out there, like, there's probably going to be quite a few dads, right? And maybe just young men that like are trying to find, maybe they're hearing this and they're like, holy shit, dude, like, I'm fucking weak. Right? I'm weak. Like, my oldest is 23, Jordan. He's I basically adopted him from my first marriage, and he's 23, 6'2", 240, and he's Vietnamese, 100% Vietnamese. He's like this weird, sweet guy, nicest guy, you know, really nice, passive. Definitely has it in him, but just very, you know, quiet, shoots a lot, you know, hangs out with his friends, likes cars and stuff like that. The one thing that I could point out is that like I don't know if he has that switch, right?
Right.
And do you think can you learn to engage and make and turn that switch on at 30, 40, 50 years old? Does your training facilities and your education like treat that, or do you believe it's something that you're kind of born with? Like, listen, there's no question in my mind that this dude can go back to where he was in 2 seconds.
You can go black in 2 seconds, right? Yeah.
But it's easier, I guess, to turn it off after already having it than probably turn it on. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, turning it off kills some guys too. They end up just killing themselves because they can't feed that thing, because that's a beast that gets started, and you end up, you have to find a way. Like for me, I found a way to transmute that type of energy into productivity through like working out and then being on mission. Like as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to war every single day of my life for my purpose, my destiny, and to serve the world, right? But to your question, there's like an underground network. I think personally, men can be taught that. I really do, because I did it with a few guys. I mean, some dudes, there was like 1 or 2 of them, it was just impossible. Like they just didn't have it. Their moms ruined them. They were held too long. I love you, mom. But you can't make a man. You're not a man. You can't bestow masculinity.
Yeah, I tell people
it's
that all the
not what you're
time.
designed for.
A child's better off having a male father role model than a mother.
Right. That's statistically valid, actually.
It is statistically valid, because I have the ability to bow down to my little girl and be as
nurturing
and loving as can be.
Right.
But I also have the ability to teach my son how to be a
man,
angry human being if he needs to be, and also teach him how to respect people, look people in the eyes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of moms out there don't drive that energy.
Right.
And it's interesting. So I mean.
And discipline is also love, and that's a man's department generally. My mom was really good at it, but that's a man's department generally.
So is mine. My
mom brought the heat. My mom brought the heat. But to answer your question, and actually I got asked this question by a young man on my flight here, like he was just kind of young and goofy and good looking, lives out here in Boca. And he was just like, what? Like his mom actually was like, yo, this dude needs, like, he's just too sweet, like he needs something. And I was like, you're a good mom. You know what I'm saying? I think there's, and we got guys given to us, even that came through boot camp, and you looked in their eyes and they're just soft and they're fluffy and they got nicknames like Rubber Chicken and Baby Tiger Cub and stuff. And,
Baby Tiger Cub. But that's the thing they would have given me.
But straight up, I think the answer is you've got it. Guys have to get physical. Shooting and stuff is cool. You're dangerous, but it's not going to grow you up in the ways that you need to. It's too clean. You have to get physical. You should go to a place where men are powerful and they understand power. Go to a MMA gym. Go get punched in the face. Go get choked out. Go fight dudes like us constantly, all the time, to where you get inoculated by it. But also, if you don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with the environment properly, you will get choked out. Those environments are self-correcting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Work your immaturity out on the mat. Realize you're not so fragile, but then understand what you can do and the discipline that comes with that, because the culture in those places is designed to give you power while also helping you understand that power. So when the next
learn your body.
Yeah, when the next like dickhead in the bar walks up to you and he's like getting all beefy, you're not going to be insecure and jump at him because you've been fighting dudes all week bigger than him. And if you have a good professor or sensei or dude training you, he's going to teach you the respect and honor that comes with that. So I say for those guys that are like, dude, I'm soft, the first step you have to make, and this is where guys like us outperform everyone else, take yourself to an uncomfortable environment like a gym.
Yeah.
You're going to walk in. I'm talking about an MMA gym, not just lifting weights. You're going to walk in there, you're going to see a bunch of juggernauts, right? You are going to be scared, but what you're going to realize is they love you for just walking through the doors, for just walking in and being willing. Being willing to be like, teach me and submit to that so they can make you into an animal too, and that's just such a beautiful thing. And that's the foundation for men. So other than that, you're going to be insecure. You're going to have problems talking to chicks. You're going to like everything else. You're not going to be able to make sales. Like that one thing, bro, will help you so much in development.
So I took Jordan at a young age to American Top Team, Charles McCarthy's gym in Boynton Beach. I was 200 pounds on probably not HRT at the time. And I watched him on the mat with all these guys, and he did a kids class. He was between that age, and then started to roll with the older kids in the class because he was a big kid. And then one day, Francisco Suarez is there, and I'm like, I want to try this. So I got on the mat with him. I'm like, this guy's 155 pounds. Freaking, and I muscle through it, trying to figure it out, learn the technique, turn the class, all of it. And dude, this guy picks me at the end to do like a fucking 10-minute round, taps me out like 35 times.
Yeah.
In like, in like 3 minutes, right?
Right.
I'm breathing like a bulldog. Like half dead, right? and then got freaking addicted, dude. 2 times a day, training jets like crazy. Half of our staff, the same thing. I'll tell you something now though, where my mentality changed, I'll never forget it. It's when I had my first blue belt competition. And I was sitting on the thing and I said, geez, I went from fucking that guy 5 years ago that didn't know what he was doing. And now I'm competing in this. Fuck, I really know something. Like I can be fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'm also pushing myself to the point because 80% of the people that do jits 90% don't ever push themselves to see where they really stand outside their gym.
Yeah.
That's an important freaking thing.
That's another step. Yeah.
A big step. That's like where it's like, oh shit, I'm not afraid to go and find out what I really have because you already know what everyone else
Where
has in the room.
buddies and where you stack up and all that stuff.
And that dude ain't taking it easy on you either.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So that was a big step for me in building confidence, and that confidence actually really helped me project aggressively inside the work world, and 100%. I got to meet a lot of amazing people. So that was a great.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think getting those dudes and your kid, your son, will fight. He won't, like for me when I started playing football and I started getting wrecked. I was like still like little chubby, mama's boy. The one thing my mom did for me that was amazing was when I started being like, I don't want to go back, Mom. I have a stomach ache. She's like, get in the car. Yeah. You're going back, and you might have to make your kid go back for the first 90 days or something. Until
make your kids do things they don't want to do.
Until they get bit, man. Because that's where the good stuff is, man. That's it. Yeah. So I dig that.
Well, listen, man. I want to say thank you so much. You're amazing, dude. I'm definitely going to take you up on going to that course.
Me too.
I can't wait.
We're looking forward to it. I was bummed I missed the first one.
We'll get out there, make some content.
Yeah, we always book stuff the exact same weekend. It's like 4 times a year. It seems to be like the same weekend.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for going out of your way, dude, and coming down, bro. I really appreciate you. Mel and I mean, I've been speaking the world about you. He's been really excited to see you.
Bro, and I was excited.
It's I'm happy that you're here. I'm honored that you're here, and my staff is like blown away by you. And I hope there's many more to come, dude. And I appreciate you very much.
We love you, bro, and thank you for being the man that you are and doing what you do. We all do, like we said, we all do it in our own way, in our certain way, and the give back and stuff. I know that's important to you.
Yeah,
that's what I tell Sydney. It's the give back, right? It's us. 100%. It's the give back. Yeah. So it's awesome, brother.
No, and it's awesome to be here amongst you guys, man. Like, I have talked about my mission, but like really, really impacting the world in a positive way in as many different ways as possible. And like I said, the biology of a human is the foundation of which comes all the other stuff, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. And like for us to have something that we can fight that with through you guys and what you're doing in the world and help humans become awesome humans that are stuck in a rut, man, this is a fight that I'm all about. So it's an honor to be with you guys and your business sense running this thing.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, bro.
We love you, brother.
Well, guys, thanks so much. Again, Byron, you're the man, and have a good one. Until next time.